It is common knowledge that skeletal muscle fibers are recruited in an orderly fashion, from smallest to largest. In other words, skeletal muscle fibers are recruited in the sequence of slow twitch muscle fibers or slow oxidative to the intermediate muscle fibers or the fast oxidative glycolytic. And lastly, the fast glycolytic muscle fibers are recruited. This is the size principle. If a person were to lift an extremely heavy weight, perhaps of 1 or 2 repetition maximum, the skeletal muscle fibers would still be recruited in this order from smallest to largest. It should be known that the amount recruited is dependent on the load, or how heavy the weight is. In the instance of extremely light weights, fast twitch muscle fibers may not be recruited at all. However, exceptions to the size principle has also been observed. Exceptions to the size principle occurs in situations where the size principle is detrimental or a hindrance. In such cases, the fast twitch muscle fibers are actually recruited first. I refer us to the photo. If the predator did not act extremely fast, the prey would have escaped, which is why being exempt from the size principle makes all the difference. As for the fish, it is in a life or death situation. Had it started with the slow twitch muscle fibers or the smallest and slowest muscle fibers, there would have been a greater chance of it being caught by the predator. This is in the perspective of the adaptive theory, which concerns survival. Other sources have the cat's paw flick as an exception to the size principle as well. One can imagine why given the visual. Again, it would be detrimental for the cat to begin with the slow and the smallest muscle fibers. In terms of humans, our fastest and largest skeletal muscle fibers, the fast glycolytic muscle fibers, typically see a change into the intermediate muscle fibers with exercise. Previously, researchers were under the impression that the fast glycolytic muscle fibers, again our fastest and largest muscle fibers, change into the intermediate muscle fibers when stimulated. This conversion has been well established and consistent in the academic literature. Some sources have speculated sprint training to be an exception to the size principle. However, sprint training consistently produces a conversion from the type 2X muscle fibers to the type 2A muscle fibers as well. Instead, one can hypothesize that certain high velocity exercises which preserve the type 2 skeletal muscle fibers are exceptions to the size principle. The reasoning is that the type 2X muscle fibers are preserved in those forms of training, unlike in other exercises. This may indicate that the type 2X muscle fibers are more necessary for those movements. In the academic literature, the type 2X muscle fibers are usually seen preserved in plyometric or ballistic training. In studies involving heavyweight training and sprint training, the conversion is consistently observed.